This recording is about gently releasing what no longer serves you: old thoughts, emotional weight, and mental clutter, so that your mind becomes lighter, clearer, and free. Your subconscious already knows how to let go. It only needs the right guidance. There is nothing to force, nothing to do. Just let this play, and your subconscious will naturally absorb what it needs. Over time, you will notice how clarity and ease become your natural state. Want to continue deepening this transformation? Subscribe to this channel and let your mind keep expanding effortlessly. There exists within the mind a natural state of quietness, a deep stillness that lies beneath the surface activity of thoughts. Much like a lake can have waves on its surface, but remain calm and undisturbed in its depths, the mind's inherent nature is one of clarity and peace. The constant chatter, the busyness, the mental noise that often seems dominant is more like the surface, whether temporary and changeable. Discovering this inner quiet is not about forcing the mind to be silent or engaging in a battle against thoughts. It is more a gentle recognition, a subtle shift in attention towards the background of stillness that is already present. This quiet space is always here, accessible, waiting patiently beneath the flow of thinking. Thoughts themselves can be understood as passing events within this larger space of awareness. They arise, linger for a moment, and then dissolve, much like clouds drifting across the vast expanse of the sky. There is no need to grab onto every thought, believe every story the mind tells, or identify completely with the stream of thinking. A gentle space can naturally open up between the quiet awareness that observes and the thoughts that parade through. This space brings freedom. It allows thoughts to be seen simply as mental energy, patterns passing through, without necessarily having power over one's inner state. Watching thoughts flow by without entanglement is a doorway to inner peace. Clarity often emerges naturally when the mind is allowed to settle. Just as mud stirred up in water slowly settles to the bottom, leaving the water clear, mental clarity reveals itself when the inner agitation quiets down. It isn't something that needs to be manufactured through intense effort or complex analysis. Often, clarity is simply the natural state of awareness, unobscured by excessive thinking or emotional turmoil. Trusting that this clear seeing can arise spontaneously, allowing the inner waters to calm, opens the possibility for insights and understanding to surface effortlessly from the depths. Natural knowing often appears in the quiet spaces, just as natural clarity emerges when the mind settles. A sense of emotional freedom becomes possible as well. This freedom isn't about trying to avoid or suppress feelings, or attempting to feel only positive emotions. True emotional freedom lies in allowing the full spectrum of human feelings to flow through awareness without being overwhelmed, controlled, or permanently defined by them. It is the freedom from being imprisoned by emotions, the capacity to experience sadness without becoming lost in despair, to feel anger without being consumed by rage, to know fear without being paralyzed by it. The heart feels more open, more resilient, able to hold experience with greater ease. Feelings become visitors passing through, rather than permanent residents dictating the inner state. A key aspect of this freedom involves the gentle acceptance of all feelings as they arise, welcoming, or at least allowing, pleasant and unpleasant emotions alike, without judgment, without resistance. Each feeling, joy, grief, peace, frustration, has a place within the human experience. Fighting against unwanted feelings often intensifies them and keeps them stuck. Acceptance, on the other hand, creates space. It allows the energy of the emotion to be felt, acknowledged, and to naturally move through the system, completing its cycle. This doesn't mean necessarily liking the feeling, but simply permitting it to be present without inner warfare. This allowance is profoundly liberating, and paradoxically, often leads to difficult feelings dissolving more quickly. Feelings can also be gently regarded as messengers, carrying potential information or energy that might be useful. Instead of viewing difficult emotions solely as problems to be eliminated, a subtle curiosity can arise about what they might be indicating. What need might lie beneath the frustration? What fear might be asking for attention? This involves listening softly to the heart, to the body, where feelings are often felt, without needing to immediately analyze or fix anything. It's a gentle inquiry, an openness to the potential wisdom held within emotional energy. When feelings are met with this receptive quality, rather than just reactivity, their grip lessens and their passage becomes smoother, contributing to greater inner balance and understanding. Listening gently to feelings, allowing them space to be present without immediate resistance, opens the door to another layer of freedom, non-identification. This is the subtle but profound shift from believing, I am this feeling, I am angry, I am sad, to recognizing, this feeling is present within awareness. Anger is here. Sadness is being felt. It's like noticing the weather passing through the sky. The sky allows the storm clouds, the rain, the wind, but it doesn't become the storm. Awareness, the core sense of being, is like that sky. Emotions are like the weather patterns passing through it. Recognizing this separation, this space between the feeling and the aware presence that notices it, prevents the feeling from defining the entire sense of self. Sadness might visit, but the deeper self remains okay. This space allows emotions to be experienced without being completely consumed by them. It brings a sense of perspective even amidst intensity. The feeling is acknowledged, felt, but it doesn't take over the whole house. There's a part that remains steady, observing, aware. This non-identification is a key to lasting emotional balance. Deep within, beneath the ebb and flow of thoughts, and the rising and falling tides of emotion, there exists a still point, a center of profound quietness and calm that remains untouched by the surface activity. It is like the calm, silent eye at the center of a swirling storm. This still point is the very nature of awareness itself, pure, peaceful, undisturbed presence. It is always here, always accessible, though often obscured by the noise of the mind or the intensity of feelings. Returning attention gently to this inner stillness, remembering its constant presence, acts as an anchor during turbulent times. Knowing this quiet center exists provides a deep sense of security. It's the realization that no matter how intense the outer or inner weather becomes, there is a core of peace within that cannot be fundamentally disturbed. Resting awareness in this still point brings immediate calm and perspective. Mental clarity often involves the gentle loosening and dissolving of mental knots. These are the tangled patterns of thought, the repetitive worry loops, the rigid beliefs, the old conclusions that create inner tension and obscure clear seeing. Like knots in a thread, they constrict the free flow of awareness and understanding. As inner quiet grows and awareness becomes less identified with thoughts, these knots naturally begin to soften and untangle. There's no need for forceful effort to unravel them. Rather, the spaciousness of awareness itself allows them to loosen their grip. The mind feels smoother, more open, less constricted by tight thinking. Clarity emerges as these mental entanglements gently release, allowing insight and understanding to flow more freely. As those tight knots of tangled thought patterns begin to loosen and dissolve naturally, a wonderful sense of inner spaciousness often dawns within the mind. It feels like more room inside, less crowding, less mental clutter. Like walking into a previously packed room that has now been cleared. There's a feeling of openness, lightness, and possibility. This inner spaciousness is the fertile ground where mental clarity thrives. When the mind isn't constantly jammed with repetitive worries, rigid opinions, or swirling anxieties, there is simply more space available for clear perception, fresh insights, and quiet understanding to emerge effortlessly. Thoughts have room to breathe, to form clearly, and to pass through without causing inner traffic jams. This feeling of mental roominess is deeply refreshing. It allows for a more relaxed and open engagement with ideas and experiences. New information can be received without immediate judgment or the need to fit it into pre-existing boxes. The mind feels less like a constricted channel and more like an open sky, capable of holding diverse thoughts and perspectives with ease. Clarity arises naturally in this open, uncluttered mental space. Emotional freedom, the capacity to allow feelings to flow without being ruled by them, leads directly to a significant reduction in reactivity. Reactivity refers to those quick, often automatic, knee-jerk emotional responses that can feel overwhelming or lead to actions later regretted: sudden anger, instant defensiveness, immediate withdrawal, or being quickly swamped by fear. As space develops between awareness and the emotions passing through it, a natural pause begins to appear. It's a tiny gap between experiencing a feeling or situation and launching into an automatic reaction. This pause is incredibly powerful. Within that space, even if very brief, lies the freedom to choose a different response. Instead of being instantly hijacked by the emotion, awareness remains present. This allows for calmer, wiser, more balanced responses to arise. The intensity of emotional charge lessens, and there's less feeling of being pushed around by inner states. This growing space between stimulus and response is a hallmark of true emotional freedom and inner balance. Cultivating effortless clarity and freedom involves learning to trust the natural flow of inner experience. Trusting that thoughts, like clouds, will indeed pass if not clung to. Trusting that feelings, like waves, will rise and fall if allowed the space to do so without resistance. trusting that the underlying awareness is vast enough and strong enough to hold all of this inner weather gently. There is a natural intelligence within the mind-heart system, capable of processing experience, integrating learning, and returning to balance if allowed. This trust involves letting go of the perceived need to constantly manage, control, or suppress inner states. It's like trusting a river to flow naturally to the sea without needing to constantly build dams or redirect its course. This trust in the inherent wisdom of inner processes brings profound relaxation. It releases the tension that comes from fighting against oneself. Letting the inner river flow keeps it clear, healthy, and moving, allowing for continuous renewal and adaptation. Trusting the flow is trusting the deep intelligence of life expressing itself within, trusting the natural flow of inner experience, allowing thoughts to drift by like clouds, permitting feelings to rise and fall like waves, becomes much easier when there is a growing recognition of the stable ground upon which all this activity takes place. This ground is awareness itself, the fundamental capacity to know, to notice, to be present. Awareness is inherently stable. It doesn't get pushed around by the thoughts it notices. It doesn't get stained or damaged by the feelings it perceives. It is like the vast, clear space of a room. Furniture can be rearranged, people can walk through, different activities can happen within the room, but the space itself remains unchanged, always present, always accommodating. Similarly, the inner space of awareness remains constant beneath the ever-changing flow of mental and emotional content. Thoughts may be turbulent, feelings may be intense, but the awareness holding these experiences is intrinsically calm, steady, and peaceful. It is the silent, unwavering witness. Knowing this, feeling this stable background, even faintly at first, brings immense relief. It means that no matter how wild the inner weather seems, there is a safe harbor within. There is a part of experience that is always okay, always untouched. Resting attention gently in this background awareness, remembering its steady presence, provides an anchor in the midst of any storm. It is the source of unshakable inner steadiness. This understanding deepens the process of non-identification, of letting go. True freedom arises not only from ceasing to identify with difficult thoughts or painful emotions, but also from releasing the tendency to cling tightly even to pleasant states. Happiness arises. It can be fully enjoyed, appreciated, allowed to fill awareness. Peace arises. It can be savored. However, trying to hold onto these pleasant states, fearing their inevitable passing, creates its own form of tension and suffering. It introduces a subtle anxiety, a resistance to the natural flow of life, where all experiences are transient. True emotional freedom includes the ability to enjoy pleasant feelings fully, and also to let them go gracefully when their time is up, without grasping or lamenting their departure. It is the freedom that comes from resting in the underlying peace of awareness itself, which is constant, rather than trying to secure peace by holding onto temporary pleasant experiences. This non-clinging applies to all inner states, thoughts, feelings, sensations, allowing everything to come and go freely without preferential attachment or aversion. is the gateway to profound inner liberty. Beyond the clarity that comes from untangled thoughts and logical understanding, there exists a deeper dimension of clarity. It is a knowing that doesn't necessarily rely on words, concepts, or linear thinking. It is a more direct, intuitive perception, a wisdom felt in the heart or the gut. It's the kind of understanding that dawns suddenly, feeling simple, obvious, and deeply true, often resolving issues that the thinking mind struggled with endlessly. This non-conceptual clarity arises from the quiet intelligence of awareness itself, from the settled stillness beneath the mental chatter. It involves trusting insights that feel resonant and right, even if they can't immediately be explained logically. This deeper seeing cuts through confusion, revealing the essence of a situation or the path forward with simple, direct knowing. Cultivating inner quietness naturally opens the door more widely to this profound, effortless clarity that resides beyond thought. It is the wisdom of the silent presence within, that deep, quiet clarity, the knowing that arises beyond thought, often resonates not just in the mind, but is felt distinctly within the body. The body itself holds a profound, innate wisdom, communicating through a language different from mental concepts and words. It speaks through sensations, through feelings localized in different areas, through gut instincts, through patterns of tension or ease. Learning to pay gentle, non-judgmental attention to these bodily signals provides another rich source of information and guidance. It helps to ground awareness in the present moment, anchoring it in physical reality away from abstract mental wanderings. The body often knows things directly, immediately, offering clear feedback about what feels safe or unsafe, aligned or misaligned, nourishing or draining. Listening softly to this bodily wisdom complements mental understanding, creating a more holistic sense of knowing. The thinking mind often carries a strong urge to understand everything, to analyze situations completely, to have all the answers neatly figured out before taking action or feeling at peace. This relentless drive for cognitive certainty can create significant inner pressure, anxiety, and a feeling of never quite knowing enough. It can lead to endless loops of thinking that obscure rather than reveal clarity. There is immense freedom and profound relief available in gently letting go of this constant need to intellectually grasp everything. It involves cultivating trust that understanding will arise when it is needed, perhaps through intuition, insight, or gradual unfolding, rather than forceful mental effort. It allows for action to be taken based on a gut feeling or inner knowing, even without complete logical justification, relaxing the demand for constant mental understanding opens space for deeper wisdom and reduces inner tension. Embracing the mystery, allowing some things to remain unknown, brings unexpected peace. Emotional freedom flourishes when emotions are allowed to flow through awareness without obstruction, like water moving easily down a clear stream. This is different from merely enduring or bracing against difficult feelings. It implies an inner openness, a willingness to let the energy of emotions move through the system naturally. This means not building dams of resistance against sadness, not getting caught indefinitely in whirlpools of angry thoughts, not trying to artificially prolong moments of joy beyond their natural lifespan. It involves allowing the full spectrum of feelings their space to arise, be felt and acknowledged, and then naturally subside or transform. This open channel prevents the buildup of unprocessed emotional energy, which can otherwise stagnate and create long-term inner disturbance. Keeping the inner river flowing ensures emotional health, resilience, and a continuous return to the underlying baseline of peace. It requires trusting that awareness is large enough and strong enough to hold the flow, allowing feelings their natural movement without needing to impede or control them. This fluidity is the essence of emotional resilience, allowing emotions their natural flow, like a river moving freely, and permitting thoughts to drift through awareness like clouds without constant interference or resistance, leads organically to a profound reduction in inner conflict. So much internal struggle arises from being at war with oneself, fighting against unwanted feelings, battling intrusive thoughts, judging parts of the self as unacceptable. As acceptance grows, this inner warfare begins to subside. The part of the mind that wants one thing learns to coexist more peacefully with the part that feels another way. Thoughts and feelings are seen as different kinds of energy, both allowed their space within the larger field of awareness, rather than being pitted against each other in a constant battle for dominance. This growing inner harmony, this sense of different inner aspects working together rather than fighting, feels deeply settling. It's like laying down heavy weapons carried for a long time. The energy previously consumed by inner conflict becomes available for more peaceful presence, clearer seeing, and authentic living. It is the quiet peace that comes from making peace within oneself, when the inner landscape becomes less cluttered with mental noise and less turbulent with emotional conflict. Perception itself naturally becomes clearer. It's like looking through a window that has been cleaned of accumulated dust and grime. Both the inner world and the outer world are seen with greater clarity, less distortion. Looking inward, feelings and thought patterns can be observed more objectively, without the immediate overlay of judgment or fear. Their nature can be understood more directly. Looking outward, situations and people are perceived more as they are, rather than being heavily filtered through pre-existing biases, expectations, anxieties, or desires. This clearer seeing doesn't necessarily mean having all the answers, but it allows for a more accurate and balanced intake of information, both subtle and obvious. It reduces misunderstandings based on projection and allows for wiser, more appropriate responses. True seeing emerges naturally as the inner fog lifts, the process of letting go, releasing old hurts, shedding limiting beliefs, loosening attachments to specific outcomes or identities, also tends to become more effortless over time. In the beginning, letting go might feel like it requires conscious effort, a decision to release something held tightly. But as awareness deepens and the foundation of inner peace and acceptance solidifies, letting go often starts to happen more spontaneously, more naturally. Things that no longer serve simply seem to lose their grip, their energetic charge, their relevance. It's less like prying fingers open and more like realizing the hand was already open, allowing things to drift away when their time came, like autumn leaves detaching easily from a tree branch when their season is done. Old patterns and attachments release naturally within the spaciousness of accepting awareness. This effortless quality of release feels light, unburdened, and creates ever more space for peace, presence, and the emergence of new, more aligned ways of being. It is a gentle clearing that happens from the inside out. This effortless letting go, this natural release of old patterns and attachments as awareness deepens, clears the inner space, allowing the inherent peacefulness of awareness itself to shine through more clearly. It's a fundamental discovery that the capacity to be aware, the very consciousness that notices thoughts and feelings, is intrinsically calm and undisturbed. Disturbance arises not from awareness itself, but from identification with or resistance to the content appearing within awareness, the turbulent thoughts, the difficult emotions. The awareness witnessing these phenomena remains serene, like a mirror reflecting various images without being affected or altered by them. Thoughts of worry may pass through, feelings of upset may arise, but the knowing presence holding them remains inherently peaceful, resting attention gently in this quality of awareness, recognizing its unchanging, peaceful nature even amidst inner or outer activity, provides an immediate connection to tranquility. It is the realization that peace isn't something external to be found, but the very ground of being, always present beneath the surface fluctuations. This knowing is profoundly restful. With growing clarity and emotional freedom, there often comes a noticeable reduction in the pervasive sense of inner urgency. This is that restless feeling, common in modern life, that something must always be done right now, to fix a perceived problem, to alleviate discomfort, to chase after a desired outcome, to avoid missing out. This constant inner hurry creates background tension and stress. As trust grows in the unfolding process, as acceptance of the present moment deepens, this frantic energy begins to subside. There's a growing sense that things are fundamentally okay, or that they can unfold in their own time without needing constant, urgent intervention. The need to immediately fix every uncomfortable feeling or solve every problem lessens. This relaxing out of habitual urgency brings immense relief and allows for a more measured, peaceful engagement with life. There is time. There is space. The thinking mind works hard, analyzing, planning, trying to figure things out. This capacity is useful, yet sometimes the most profound clarity or the most elegant solutions arise not during intense mental effort, but in the moments after the thinking mind has relaxed, in the space of inner silence. Cultivating trust in this inner silence becomes increasingly important. Trusting that the quiet spaces between thoughts are not empty, but full of potential. Allowing the mind periods of rest without needing to constantly fill the space with activity or entertainment gives the deeper intelligence a chance to work. Insights often emerge spontaneously from stillness. Integration of learning happens in the quiet. Problem resolution can occur effortlessly when the conscious striving stops. Silence is not absence, but a potent space for deeper processing and wisdom to surface naturally. Trusting this quiet inner process yields unexpected gifts. Trusting the wisdom that arises from inner silence allows for a growing connection with and reliance upon the natural intelligence inherent in life itself. There is a deep, effortless wisdom that guides the growth of a tree, the rhythm of the seasons, the beating of a heart, the healing of a wound. This intelligence operates constantly beneath the level of conscious thought, maintaining balance and fostering life. Recognizing and trusting this deep, natural intelligence, both within the body and in the larger flow of life, brings profound ease. It lessens the burden of feeling solely responsible for managing and controlling every aspect of existence through mental effort alone. There arises a willingness to cooperate with this deeper wisdom, to allow its subtle guidance, to relax into the knowing that a powerful, benevolent intelligence is always at play. Less need to force, more capacity to flow. This growing trust in natural intelligence, combined with increasing mental clarity and emotional freedom, acts as a powerful antidote to habitual worry. Worry thrives in the perceived need to control outcomes, fueled by fearful thoughts about potential negative futures. It spins endlessly in the mind, creating tension and obscuring peace. However, when thoughts are seen more clearly as just passing mental events, not necessarily true predictions, their power diminishes. When emotions like fear are allowed to be felt and move through without resistance, they lose their paralyzing grip. When trust in inner resources and the larger flow of life grows, the perceived need for constant mental rehearsal of potential problems lessens dramatically. Worry thoughts may still arise occasionally, but they are less likely to take root and dominate awareness. The mind finds more frequent and lasting periods of quiet calm, the state of being present, of resting awareness in the here and now, reveals itself to be profoundly simple. While the mind can create great complexity around the idea of presence, the actual experience is utterly straightforward. It requires no special technique, no complicated understanding, no strenuous effort. Awareness is already present, always. Presence is simply noticing this awareness, resting in it, allowing it to perceive whatever is arising in this moment. Sounds, sensations, thoughts, feelings, without needing to add complex interpretations, judgments, or expectations. It is simple noticing, simple being. The ease found in this simplicity is deeply refreshing. It cuts through mental complications and returns awareness to the direct, uncomplicated reality of immediate experience. Peace is often found not in complex solutions, but in the profound simplicity of just being here, aware, open. This simple presence is always available, the ever-present ground of being, the profound simplicity found in just being present, resting in quiet awareness, holds within it a unique and potent kind of power. This is not the power associated with force, control over others, or external dominance. It is the quiet, unassuming power that arises naturally from inner centeredness, clarity, and emotional balance. A mind that is clear and calm possesses the power of accurate perception and wise discernment. A heart that is open and free holds the power of resilience, compassion, and authentic connection. A being grounded in presence has the power to navigate life's challenges with stability and grace, less easily thrown off course by external events or inner turbulence. This quiet power doesn't need to announce itself loudly. Its strength lies in its steadiness, its balance, its unwavering connection to the peaceful core within. It is the power that comes not from effortful doing, but from effortless being. True strength often reveals itself in stillness, a significant source of mental noise and inner conflict is the ingrained habit of constant judgment, the mind's tendency to immediately label experiences, people, situations, and even oneself as good or bad, right or wrong, like or dislike. This perpetual evaluation process consumes vast amounts of mental energy, creates inner tension, and often obscures a clear view of reality. Gently letting go of this habit of automatic judgment brings immense freedom and clarity. It involves cultivating the capacity to simply notice, to observe what is happening internally and externally, without immediately attaching a label or launching into a critique. This doesn't mean abandoning discernment, but rather pausing the reactive labeling machine. Suspending judgment allows for a clearer, less biased perception. It frees up the energy previously used for constant evaluation. It reduces inner conflict and fosters a greater sense of acceptance towards oneself and life. Releasing the burden of being a constant judge brings profound peace to the mind. As the mind becomes clearer and the heart freer, and natural openness to possibility begins to emerge. When awareness is less constrained by rigid beliefs, past conditioning, or fear-based thinking, it becomes more receptive to new ideas, fresh perspectives, and unforeseen opportunities. The inner landscape feels less like a closed room with limited options, and more like an open field under a wide sky. Possibilities that were previously invisible, obscured by mental clutter or emotional reactivity, can now be perceived. There arises a gentle readiness to embrace positive change, to explore new ways of being, to grow beyond previous limitations. This inner openness is inherently hopeful, creative, and life-affirming. It welcomes the unfolding future with curiosity rather than apprehension. This inner openness, this state of being less constrained by past limitations and more available to the present moment, naturally allows innate creativity to flow more freely. Creativity is not the exclusive domain of artists or inventors. It is a fundamental human capacity, present in everyone. It is the ability to make connections, to find new solutions, to express oneself authentically, to bring something fresh into existence, whether in grand ways or simple daily activities. Often, this natural creative flow becomes blocked or inhibited by mental clutter, fear of judgment, self-doubt, or rigid ways of thinking. As mental clarity increases and emotional freedom grows, these obstructions tend to dissolve. The inner channel clears, allowing the natural impulse towards creative expression and problem solving to emerge with greater ease. Finding a new approach to a familiar task, expressing a feeling honestly, combining ideas in an original way. These are all expressions of this inherent creativity. It arises more spontaneously and joyfully when the inner space is clear, open, and free from the heavy weight of self-criticism or fear of failure. The perceived sense of a separate self, the ego with its needs, fears, and history, often acts like a filter on perception. Experiences are interpreted through the lens of what does this mean for me? Or how does this affect my image? This self-centered filtering inevitably colors and distorts how reality is perceived, hindering true clarity. As identification with this limited ego structure softens, as awareness rests more in the open, impartial space of being, this filter becomes less dense. There is less automatic interpretation based on personal needs or defenses. Things can be seen more objectively, more as they are, without the immediate overlay of personal bias. This reduction in ego identification is profoundly clarifying. Less energy is spent defending a self-image or taking things personally. More energy is available for simple, clear observation and understanding, quieting the ego's constant commentary and relaxing its grip on perception opens the door to a much clearer, more accurate, and ultimately more peaceful way of seeing the world and oneself. It becomes increasingly apparent that inner peace is not just a pleasant side effect or a distant goal of cultivating clarity and freedom. It is the very foundation upon which they are built and sustained. Lasting mental clarity and stable emotional freedom cannot easily coexist with significant inner turmoil or conflict. Peace provides the necessary ground. Therefore, gently prioritizing inner peace through acceptance, presence, self-kindness, letting go naturally supports the blossoming of all other positive inner qualities. Seeking calm first, returning to the quiet center again and again, creates the fertile soil in which clear thought, balanced emotions, and wise actions can grow strong. Peace is the essential nutrient, the stable base from which effortless clarity and freedom arise and flourish. It is the cornerstone of inner well-being, resting upon the foundation of inner peace, that quiet calm cultivated through acceptance and presence naturally gives rise to a deeper capacity for patience. Much impatience stems from inner restlessness, from a discomfort with the present moment, or an anxious desire to control the timing of events. When the inner world feels fundamentally okay, the urgency to rush things diminishes. There develops an understanding, felt deep within, that processes unfold according to their own inherent timelines. Healing takes time. Growth takes time. Clarity sometimes emerges only after a period of gestation. Like a wise gardener who plants seeds and then waits patiently, trusting the natural process, inner peace allows for a similar trust in the unfolding of life, both internal and external. This patience isn't passive resignation. It is an active acceptance of reality, including the reality of time. It conserves energy previously wasted on frustration and struggle against what is. It makes the journey feel smoother, less fraught with the tension of wanting things to be different now. Patience, born of peace, is a profound source of ease, a mind that is becoming clearer, less cluttered with conflicting thoughts, worries, and mental noise, allows for intentions to become clearer as well. When the inner landscape is more settled, it becomes easier to discern what truly matters deep down, which core values resonate most strongly, what direction feels most authentic. tension arising from this clarity is less about scattered desires or reactive wants, and more about a focused, calm sense of inner direction. It's a gentle alignment of energy towards what feels meaningful and true, held without desperate clinging or anxious striving. This clear, heart-centered aim provides subtle guidance for choices and actions, helping to navigate life with greater purpose and integrity, drawing energy naturally towards what is valued most. Emotional freedom blossoms fully when accompanied by a gentle, non-judgmental honesty with oneself about feelings. This means cultivating the willingness to acknowledge whatever emotions are present within awareness, without needing to immediately suppress them, deny them, or pretend something else is being felt, even internally. It involves allowing the simple truth of sadness, fear, anger, joy, or any other feeling its space, recognizing it without adding layers of self-criticism or shame for having such feelings. This inner emotional honesty is profoundly liberating. It dissolves the tension created by internal pretense and builds a deeper trust with oneself. It makes the inner world a safe place where the full spectrum of human experience is allowed, accepted, and understood with compassion. An honest heart is a free heart. Cultivating gentle honesty within, acknowledging the truth of inner feelings and needs without judgment, builds self-trust and naturally leads towards a greater sense of inner alignment. This is the harmonious state where thoughts, feelings, core values, and actions are generally pointing in the same direction, working together rather than pulling against each other. It feels like different parts of the inner orchestra are playing the same piece of music, creating a coherent and pleasing sound rather than discordant noise. This inner congruence reduces internal friction significantly. Less energy is wasted on inner battles or contradictions. Instead, energy flows more smoothly, supporting well-being and making outer actions feel more integrated and authentic. This smooth feeling of inner alignment is deeply satisfying and peaceful. Sometimes, the clarity that arises from inner stillness and deep intuition possesses a quality that transcends ordinary doubt. This isn't the rigid certainty of a closed mind or the loudness of arrogance. It is a quiet, unshakable knowing that resonates deep within the core of being. It feels simple, clear, and self-evidently true, arising from a place beyond mental argument or analysis. Surface-level thoughts might still chatter, questions may arise, uncertainties might flicker at the edges of awareness, but this deep, resonant knowing remains undisturbed. It provides a solid ground of inner conviction, allowing for movement forward with quiet confidence, even when all the external details aren't perfectly clear. Trusting this clarity beyond doubt brings profound peace and decisive, yet gentle, inner guidance. Much of human experience is shaped by past conditioning. The lessons, beliefs, emotional responses, and behavioral patterns learned throughout life, often absorbed unconsciously from family, culture, and personal experiences. While some conditioning is helpful, other aspects can become limiting, creating automatic reactions or restricting the sense of possibility. Mental clarity allows these conditioned patterns to be seen more clearly, recognized for what they are: learned habits rather than fixed truths about oneself or the world. Emotional freedom provides the space to feel the pull of these old patterns without being automatically compelled to follow them. This combination creates the possibility of liberation from the automatic grip of the past. It becomes possible to pause, to notice the old habit arising, and to consciously choose a different response, one more aligned with present values and wisdom rather than past programming. This gentle unhooking from conditioned reactions brings an incredible sense of freedom, freshness, and the possibility of continually creating oneself anew in each moment. The past loses its power to dictate the present. This growing freedom from the automatic pull of past conditioning, this gentle unhooking from old patterns and limitations, naturally allows awareness to settle more fully into the present moment. When the mind is less preoccupied with replaying history or rehearsing potential futures based on past experiences, it becomes available to truly embrace the only time that life actually unfolds. Right now, the past exists only as memory traces, thoughts arising in the present. The future exists only as imagination, projections, thoughts also arising in the present. Reality itself, the actual experience of living, sensing, feeling, being, happens exclusively in this timeless, ever-present now. Bringing attention gently, repeatedly, back to this immediate moment allows life to be met directly, experienced fully, without the distorting filters of past regrets or future anxieties. Embracing the now is embracing life itself, in its freshness, its immediacy, its only point of contact. Peace is found here, clarity is perceived here, freedom is lived here, as the mind becomes clearer and less identified with the constant stream of thought. A quality of mental quietude often becomes more noticeable and accessible. This doesn't necessarily mean a complete absence of thoughts, an empty blankness, although moments of deep silence may occur. More commonly, it is experienced as a significant reduction in background mental noise. There's less static, less chatter, less habitual commentary running constantly. Thoughts may still arise, but they seem to float through a wider, quieter space. They have less stickiness, less power to instantly capture attention and trigger emotional reactions. This relative quietness feels profoundly peaceful, clear, and deeply restful, even when thinking is occurring. The volume is turned down, allowing the underlying silence to be heard. Emotional freedom contributes directly to a greater sense of inner balance. This balance isn't about achieving a flat, emotionless state or trying to feel only pleasant feelings. Rather, it is the capacity to experience the full, rich spectrum of human emotions without being completely thrown off center or losing connection with the underlying ground of awareness. It's like a ship with a deep, heavy keel that allows it to ride the waves of the ocean without capsizing. Feelings, whether waves of sadness, gusts of anger, swells of joy, or currents of fear, can be experienced, acknowledged, allowed their movement, while the inner core remains relatively stable and balanced. There's less chance of being drowned by sorrow, carried away by elation, or consumed by rage. This emotional equilibrium allows for feeling fully while remaining centered, a hallmark of true inner freedom and strength. This inner emotional balance This capacity to remain centered, even while experiencing the full spectrum of feelings, forms the very heart of true resilience. Resilience is often thought of as the ability to bounce back after difficulties, but its deepest source lies in this inherent stability of the inner core, the calm presence of awareness itself. When challenges arise, when setbacks occur, when painful emotions surge, the balanced individual isn't immune to feeling them, but the core self remains less disturbed, less fundamentally shaken. Like a weighted buoy that naturally returns upright after a wave passes over it, the inner being grounded in peace and clarity naturally returns to equilibrium more quickly and easily. There's less likelihood of being thrown completely off course or sustaining lasting inner damage from life's inevitable ups and downs. This resilience isn't about developing a hard outer shell. It is the quiet, enduring strength that comes from cultivating inner stability, spaciousness, and connection to the unwavering peace within. It is strength born of balance. The benefits of growing mental clarity and emotional freedom naturally extend into the realm of relationships. When the inner world is clearer and calmer, interactions with others tend to become smoother, more harmonious, and more authentic. Seeing others through clearer eyes, less distorted by one's own projections, fears, or unmet needs, allows for more accurate understanding and genuine connection. Communication often becomes easier and more honest, flowing naturally from a place of inner clarity and self-acceptance, rather than being fraught with hidden agendas or defensive maneuvering. Empathy deepens as the heart opens, less preoccupied with self-protection and more available to resonate with the feelings of another. Consequently, there tends to be less misunderstanding, less blame, less needless conflict, and more capacity for mutual understanding, support, and intimacy. Inner peace fosters outer harmony, a subtle but significant aspect of growing clarity and freedom. Involves the gradual release of the ego's strong attachment to being right. The part of the mind identified with the ego often feels a powerful need to defend its opinions, win arguments, and prove its correctness, sometimes valuing this more than connection or peace. This tendency inevitably creates tension, conflict, and distance in relationships and inner turmoil. As awareness becomes less identified with the ego structure, this compulsive need to be right often softens. There arises a greater openness to different perspectives, a willingness to listen without immediately formulating a rebuttal, and an understanding that harmony and connection are often more valuable than winning a debate. Choosing peace over the need to be right brings immense freedom and allows for more learning and genuine communication. It is a release from a significant source of inner and outer friction, releasing the tight grip on needing to be right, allowing space for different viewpoints, naturally cultivates greater mental flexibility. When the mind is less rigidly attached to its own conclusions and defenses, it gains the capacity to hold multiple perspectives simultaneously, even seemingly contradictory ones, without immediate discomfort or the need to resolve the tension instantly. It's like being able to hold several differently colored objects in the hand at once, appreciating the unique qualities of each without feeling compelled to declare one superior or discard the others. This cognitive flexibility allows for a much richer, more nuanced understanding of complex situations and diverse people. The mind becomes less like a narrow channel forced in one direction, and more like an open field capable of containing variety and paradox. This spaciousness enhances wisdom and creativity. A significant portion of mental suffering often arises from worry about the future. The mind's tendency to project potential problems, rehearse negative scenarios, and experience anxiety about events that have not happened and may never happen. Mental clarity and emotional freedom work together to gently loosen the grip of this future-oriented anxiety. Clarity allows worry thoughts to be seen for what they are. Just thoughts, mental projections, stories created by the mind, not necessarily accurate predictions of reality. Emotional freedom allows the underlying feeling of fear or uncertainty to be felt and acknowledged without letting it completely hijack the present moment or dictate behavior. Furthermore, growing trust in one's inner resourcefulness, the quiet confidence that future challenges can be met when they arise, reduces the perceived need for constant mental preparation for disaster. This combination brings profound peace to the present and a calmer outlook towards the unfolding future when the mind is clear about core values and the heart is free from the constraints of fear and excessive external conditioning. Motivation often begins to arise more naturally from within. There is less reliance on external factors like rewards, punishments, social pressure, or imposed shoulds to generate the energy for action. Instead, the drive comes from an inner resonance, a feeling of alignment with what truly matters. It's the natural desire to express authentic qualities, to contribute meaningfully, to create, to connect, or simply to act in ways that feel congruent with one's deepest sense of self. This intrinsic motivation feels fundamentally different from externally driven effort. It tends to be more sustainable, joyful, and imbued with a sense of purpose, however quiet. It is action flowing effortlessly from inner truth. When motivation flows naturally from inner clarity and freedom, guided by core values rather than external pressures, life often begins to feel imbued with a quiet sense of purpose. This isn't necessarily about finding one grand, externally defined mission, although that might occur for some. More commonly, it's a feeling that arises organically from simply living authentically, expressing one's true qualities, sharing unique gifts however humbly, acting in alignment with inner truth, following the guidance of the heart. These activities themselves feel inherently meaningful. Purpose reveals itself not as a destination to be frantically searched for, but as the natural consequence of being true to oneself and contributing positively from that place of inner alignment. Meaning blossoms from within when life is lived from the core. Part of the journey toward greater mental clarity and emotional freedom involves gently loosening the attachment to fixed identities or self-images. The mind tends to create labels and stories about who we are. I am this kind of person. I am good at that. I am bad at this. I am defined by my past. While these concepts can be useful navigational tools at times, clinging to them rigidly can become limiting, like living inside a small box. These identities are ultimately collections of thoughts, memories, and beliefs, not the fundamental truth of being, which is the open, aware space in which these identities appear. Clarity allows these self-concepts to be seen more clearly as constructions rather than absolute realities. Emotional freedom allows the possibility of experiencing oneself beyond these familiar labels without fear, releasing the tight grip on any particular self-image, even a positive one, brings tremendous liberation. It creates the freedom to grow, to change, to express different facets of oneself, to learn new things without feeling constrained by a past definition. It allows for resting in the mystery of being, which is far vaster and more open than any limited personality structure or label can capture. It is freedom from the confines of self-concept, the inner silence, the quiet space beneath the chatter of the mind, is not just a passive emptiness, it is a profound teacher. Resting awareness in the stillness, allowing the mind to quiet down periodically, creates the optimal condition for deeper truths to surface and for integration to occur. Much like soil needs periods of rest to regain fertility, the mind benefits immensely from regular dips into silence. In the quiet, insights that were obscured by mental noise can dawn with startling clarity. The true nature of thoughts and feelings, their transient, impersonal quality, becomes more apparent. Connections are made, experiences are digested and learned from on a deeper level. Silence heals, clarifies, and reveals the wisdom that lies dormant beneath the surface agitation. Trusting and valuing this inner silence allows its subtle teachings to unfold naturally. It is a space of profound learning and deep connection. Inner silence, the quiet teacher within, often reveals not only hidden truths, but also the vast expanse of what is not known. True wisdom frequently includes a humble recognition of the limits of intellectual understanding. The mind desires certainty, complete explanations, definitive answers, but life itself is full of mystery. Embracing the state of not knowing, becoming comfortable with uncertainty, releases the immense pressure of needing to have everything figured out. This doesn't imply apathy or a lack of curiosity. Rather, it fosters an openness, a readiness to learn, a willingness to see beyond current assumptions. Paradoxically, admitting, "I don't know," often creates the mental space necessary for deeper insights or unexpected solutions to arise. It is the humility that prevents the mind from becoming closed and rigid, keeping it receptive to the ever-unfolding nature of reality. There is profound peace in releasing the burden of needing to possess all the answers, just as mental clarity creates a sense of spaciousness within the mind. Emotional freedom cultivates a corresponding spaciousness within the heart. This is the inner capacity to hold the full range of human emotions, including difficult or painful ones, without being completely overwhelmed or shut down by them. It feels like the inner container has expanded, able to hold more experience with grace. Sadness can be present without drowning the entire inner landscape. Fear can be acknowledged without causing paralysis. Anger can be felt without consuming awareness in flames. This emotional spaciousness allows feelings the room they need to breathe, to be processed, to move through the system and transform naturally. When feelings aren't met with constriction and resistance, but rather with this open, allowing space, they are less likely to become stuck or create lasting inner disturbance. The heart feels resilient, capable, open, when the mind possesses clarity, offering a sense of true direction aligned with core values. And the heart possesses emotional freedom, clearing away the inner resistance born of fear or past conditioning. Then action in the world often begins to flow with surprising effortlessness. The inner state naturally translates into outer expression with less friction. There's less need for forceful pushing, willpower-driven striving, or struggling against internal blocks. Instead, actions tend to arise more spontaneously, guided by intuition and aligned with the clear intention held within. It feels less like battling upstream and more like flowing with a current. This effortless quality makes action more sustainable, often more effective, and imbued with a sense of grace and ease, connecting being and doing seamlessly. Clarity provides the map. Freedom clears the path. Action flows naturally. When action flows effortlessly from a place of inner clarity and emotional freedom, guided by alignment rather than struggle, a natural warmth often begins to permeate experience. As inner conflict subsides and the habitual battles against oneself or against life cease, the energy previously consumed by friction becomes available for gentler qualities to emerge. Kindness arises more naturally. This isn't necessarily about consciously deciding to be kind based on a moral code or should. It is the spontaneous overflow of a heart that is feeling more peaceful, accepted, and less threatened. When the inner world feels safe and balanced, there is less defensiveness, less judgment, less projection of inner pain onto others. Compassion, both for oneself and for others navigating the complexities of human life, arises more readily from this ground of inner peace. A calm heart is naturally a kinder heart. A significant source of mental distress and inner turmoil is the mind's deeply ingrained habit of comparison, constantly measuring oneself against others. Am I smarter, more successful, happier, better looking? Or conversely, am I less than, falling behind, not good enough? Creates a perpetual cycle of insecurity, envy, judgment, and dissatisfaction. This comparing mind finds endless ways to feel either falsely superior or painfully inadequate. Mental clarity helps to see this comparison game for what it is, a purely mental construct, often based on incomplete information and arbitrary standards that generates suffering. Emotional freedom allows the painful feelings associated with comparison to be met with acceptance, loosening their grip. Gradually, the compulsion to compare diminishes. There is a growing recognition of the inherent uniqueness of each individual path. Resting in self-acceptance releases the need to measure oneself against anyone else, bringing profound peace and freedom from this pervasive form of mental suffering. Amidst the undeniable noise of the external world and the internal chatter that can sometimes arise even in a relatively clear mind, there exists a capacity for deep inner listening. This involves becoming increasingly attuned to the more subtle forms of guidance available within, the quiet whispers of intuition, the direct knowing held in bodily sensations, the resonant feelings of the heart, the simple sense of rightness or wrongness that guides authentic choices. Cultivating mental quietude and emotional spaciousness acts like tuning an inner radio receiver, making it easier to pick up these finer signals. Distinguishing the voice of true inner wisdom from the louder demands of fear, ego, or conditioning becomes more possible. Trusting and valuing this capacity for deep inner listening allows one to navigate life with greater wisdom, grace, and alignment, relying less on external validation and more on the compass within the heart. It is hearing the soul's quiet guidance, deepening the capacity for inner listening, learning to trust the subtle guidance arising from intuition and felt sense, fosters a growing recognition of the fundamental trustworthiness of being itself. While thoughts can be deceptive, weaving elaborate stories that may or may not reflect reality, and emotions can sometimes feel overwhelming or misleading, the underlying awareness, the core presence that knows both thoughts and feelings, is inherently reliable. This awareness is stable, unchanging, always present. It is the secure ground upon which all experience unfolds. It doesn't have opinions or agendas. It simply reflects what is, clearly and impartially, like a perfect mirror. Learning to rest in and trust this core awareness, distinguishing it from the transient content that passes through it, builds an unshakable foundation for inner security. It is realizing the anchor within that always holds firm, the inner truth that can always be counted upon. The human mind often displays a fascination with complexity. It enjoys analyzing intricate details, building elaborate theories, engaging in complex problem solving. While this capacity has its place, profound mental clarity and peace are often discovered not through greater complexity, but through embracing simplicity, appreciating simple truths, valuing straightforward understanding, allowing thoughts to be uncomplicated when possible. There is a deep restfulness in letting go of the need for constant, intricate mental activity, finding beauty in simple awareness, peace in simple acceptance, strength in simple presence, releasing tangled mental knots and allowing the mind to settle into a state of uncomplicated clarity feels wonderfully light and freeing. Truth itself is often surprisingly simple, easily recognized when the mind is quiet and open, a natural consequence of increasing mental clarity and emotional freedom is a significant lessening of the seeking mind. This is the restless habit of constantly searching for something outside oneself or in some future moment that is believed to hold the key to happiness, peace, or fulfillment. Seeking the right relationship, the perfect job, the next achievement, the ultimate answer, the elusive state of permanent bliss. Clarity reveals that the peace being sought is already present within awareness itself. Emotional freedom demonstrates that happiness is not solely dependent on external circumstances or the absence of difficult feelings. As this understanding deepens, the frantic energy of seeking naturally subsides. It is replaced by a growing capacity to rest in the present moment, finding sufficiency and contentment right here, recognizing that the essential qualities desired were never truly absent, merely obscured. This release from the burden of perpetual seeking brings profound relaxation and peace as the restless energy of seeking subsides, replaced by a quiet resting in the trustworthiness of being and the simplicity of the present moment. A natural contentment often begins to surface, This isn't the dullness of resignation or giving up on life. Rather, it is a quiet, gentle satisfaction with what is, both internally and externally. It is the peace that arises when the constant striving for something different relaxes its grip. It feels like discovering that the treasure sought for so long was already present, hidden within one's own heart, obscured only by the noise of seeking itself. This contentment is a soft okayness, an inner ease that doesn't depend on circumstances being perfect or desires being fulfilled. It is the simple happiness found in just being, grounded in the recognition of the inherent fullness already present within awareness. This peaceful satisfaction is deeply nourishing. Mental clarity deepens beyond simply noticing thoughts to encompass seeing through them, recognizing their inherently transient and insubstantial nature. Thoughts often present themselves as solid realities, important facts, or urgent commands. Yet, with continued quiet observation, their dreamlike quality becomes more apparent. They can be seen as patterns of energy, mental formations, arising and dissolving within the space of awareness, much like bubbles forming and popping on the surface of water, or wisps of smoke curling and disappearing into the air. They lack inherent solidity or independent existence. Seeing thoughts in this way, understanding their light, airy, and temporary nature, dramatically reduces their power to disturb inner peace. They are recognized as mental events, not binding realities. This clear seeing dissolves the hypnotic spell that thoughts often cast, freeing awareness from automatic entanglement in thought-based stories and dramas. It brings a profound sense of liberation from the tyranny of the thinking mind, allowing awareness to rest in its own spacious, peaceful nature, less disturbed by the mental weather passing through, allowing feelings their natural flow, meeting them with acceptance rather than resistance, cultivates a deep emotional wisdom. This isn't just intellectual understanding about emotions. It is an intuitive, embodied knowing gained through direct experience. It involves learning the unique language of one's own feelings, understanding their potential messages, and becoming skillful in navigating their energies gracefully. One learns to recognize the nuances of sadness without collapsing into despair, to feel the heat of anger without being consumed by destructive rage, to acknowledge fear without being paralyzed by it. This wisdom involves knowing when to simply allow a feeling space to be, when gentle inquiry might be helpful, and when compassionate action is needed. It is the heart becoming wise through openness, learning to handle its own energies with balance and compassion, guided by inner knowing rather than reactive patterns. This emotional intelligence brings great stability and grace. The emotional wisdom gained through accepting and allowing feelings, combined with the clear seeing that arises in a settled mind, naturally unlocks deep inner resourcefulness. When awareness isn't constantly consumed by resisting feelings or tangled in confused thinking, it becomes available to access innate capacities for creativity, problem solving, resilience, and wise action. It's like discovering a hidden toolbox within, filled with just the right instruments needed for whatever situation arises. Solutions to challenges may appear spontaneously. Creative ideas flow more easily. The strength to navigate difficulties is found readily accessible within. This resourcefulness isn't necessarily about having more knowledge, but about having clearer access to the innate intelligence and potential already present. Trusting this inner wellspring brings quiet confidence and reduces fear of the unknown. Profound aspect of emotional freedom is the liberation from automatic reactivity. Much human suffering arises from being caught in habitual knee-jerk reactions to external triggers or internal feelings. Someone says something critical, and anger flares instantly. A situation changes unexpectedly, and fear immediately takes hold. These automatic responses often feel outside of conscious control, like buttons being pushed that trigger predictable, often unhelpful outcomes. As emotional freedom grows through acceptance and non-identification, a space opens up between the trigger and the response. Clarity allows the trigger to be seen more objectively. Presence allows the initial feeling to be felt without instantly reacting. This crucial pause breaks the chain of automaticity. It creates the possibility of choosing a response rather than being compelled by habit. This shift from automatic reaction to conscious response is a cornerstone of inner freedom, bringing immense peace and empowerment. It is reclaiming mastery over one's inner world. Accompanying mental clarity is often a growing sense of mental ease. This contrasts sharply with the feeling of mental strain, tension, or effortful striving that can characterize a mind caught in worry, overanalysis, or resistance. Mental ease feels light, smooth, and relaxed. Thinking, when necessary, happens more fluidly, clearly, without excessive effort. And when thinking isn't needed, the mind settles naturally into quiet rest without restlessness or agitation. There's less feeling of needing to constantly figure things out, less pressure from internal commentary, less friction in the cognitive process itself. This relaxed, open state of mind is not only more effective, but also deeply peaceful and pleasant. It is the feeling of a mind operating in harmony with its own nature, the growing sense of mental ease, the freedom from being constantly driven by reactivity, naturally fosters a feeling of inner lightness. It is as if invisible burdens, the weight of excessive worry, the heaviness of unresolved emotions, the density of inner conflict, are gradually being set down. The mind and heart feel less encumbered, less weighed down. This lightness brings a sense of buoyancy, an inner lift. Navigating life's circumstances feels less like trudging through thick mud and more like moving with a sense of ease and grace. Challenges are still met, but with less internal friction, less feeling of being dragged down. This inner lightness is a hallmark of a mind and heart returning to their natural, unburdened state. It feels free, open, and joyful. Mental clarity provides the foundation for wise discernment. This is the capacity to see clearly what supports well-being, aligns with inner truth, and leads towards greater harmony, versus what hinders growth, feels discordant, or creates unnecessary suffering. It allows for making choices, both large and small, that are beneficial and life-affirming. Crucially, this clear seeing is distinct from judgment. Judgment often involves criticism, blame, comparison, and creating separation. Good versus bad, right versus wrong. Discernment, arising from clarity and peace, simply recognizes different qualities and consequences without the harsh edge of condemnation. It sees what is, understands its nature, and allows for wise choices to be made from a place of calm awareness rather than reactivity or moral superiority. It is seeing clearly, choosing wisely, without the burden of blame. Clarity also illuminates the subtle wisdom of natural timing. A clear mind, attuned to inner guidance and the flow of life, develops a better sense of when the moment is ripe for action and when patience or stillness is required. Impulsive action driven by restlessness or fear often leads to mistakes. Fearful procrastination, holding back when action is needed, misses opportunities. Trusting inner clarity helps navigate this delicate balance. There arises a capacity to sense the right timing, when to speak and when to remain silent, when to move forward decisively, and when to wait for conditions to mature or for guidance to become clearer. Less rushing ahead impatiently, less holding back fearfully. Honoring this natural rhythm, aligning action with the flow of energy and insight, brings greater effectiveness and profound peace. It is trusting the wisdom inherent in the timing of things, trusting the wisdom of natural timing, learning to act or wait in alignment with inner guidance rather than outer pressure, creates the conditions for innate potentials to unfold effortlessly. Just as a tightly closed bud needs warmth and time to open naturally into a flower, positive inner qualities like wisdom, compassion, creativity, and deeper love blossom most readily when not forced by anxious striving, when the inner space is cleared through mental clarity and the heart is freed through emotional acceptance. The path is open for these inherent potentials to emerge spontaneously, often surprising oneself with their depth and beauty. Becoming more fully oneself happens not through effortful self-improvement projects aimed at fixing perceived flaws, but through the gentle, natural unfolding that occurs when resistance is released and inner peace prevails. Growth happens easily in fertile, peaceful ground. Emotional freedom brings a growing liberation from attachment to specific outcomes. While it's natural to have hopes and preferences for how things might turn out, emotional freedom means that inner peace and well-being are no longer solely dependent on achieving those specific results. One learns to act with clarity and intention, doing the best one can, while simultaneously releasing the desperate need for things to unfold in only one particular way. Disappointment might still be felt if hopes aren't realized, but it doesn't shatter the underlying sense of okayness. Sadness might arise, but it doesn't lead to despair. The capacity develops to meet any outcome with greater equanimity, knowing that the inner core of peace and stability remains untouched. This detachment from results reduces anxiety enormously and allows for engagement with life from a place of inner fullness rather than conditional need. True freedom lies in being okay regardless of the outer score. Life inevitably presents complexities, challenges, moments of intensity, or periods where the mind feels busy or emotions run high. In the midst of all this activity, the quiet space of inner stillness remains an ever-present refuge. It is like a quiet, peaceful room within the heart, always accessible, regardless of the noise or chaos happening outside its door. Remembering to return awareness even briefly, to this inner sanctuary provides immediate perspective, calm, and restoration. It is a grounding point, a connection back to the unchanging peace of core awareness. This inner stillness isn't something to be created. It simply needs to be recognized and rested in. Knowing this calm refuge is always available brings immense comfort and strength, providing a reliable home base from which to meet all of life's experiences. It is the source of unwavering inner support, returning again and again to the quiet refuge of inner stillness, resting in the calm, unchanging presence of awareness, cultivates a profound sense of inherent safety. External circumstances are always changing, unpredictable, sometimes threatening. Outer security is often conditional and temporary, but the core of being, the awareness itself, remains untouched, unharmed, eternally present. It is like the deep, silent depths of the ocean, which remain undisturbed regardless of the storms raging on the surface. Connecting with this deep inner core, realizing its invulnerable nature, brings a feeling of fundamental safety that is independent of outer conditions. This felt sense of inherent okayness, of being fundamentally secure within oneself, profoundly reduces background anxiety and fear. It is discovering the safe harbor that always exists within. Mental clarity extends beyond self-understanding to illuminate relationships with others. As the inner fog lifts, it becomes easier to perceive the inner states of others more clearly, recognizing when their words or actions might be arising from their own fear, pain, confusion, or conditioning, rather than being a direct reflection of one's own worth or shortcomings. This clear seeing allows for greater understanding and compassion. It also fosters healthier boundaries, as there is less tendency to automatically absorb others' negativity, take their reactions personally, or feel responsible for fixing their inner states. One can perceive others' experiences with empathy, yet maintain inner balance, reducing entanglement in unnecessary relational drama. Clarity brings wisdom to interactions. A great deal of mental and emotional energy is often consumed by the pursuit of external approval. The desire for others to like, praise, validate, or agree with us can become a powerful driver, leading to inauthentic behavior, fear of judgment, and constant anxiety about one's image. This relentless seeking often stems from a lack of deep self-acceptance, looking outside for the validation that is missing within. As inner clarity grows and emotional freedom allows for greater self-acceptance, the compulsive need for external approval naturally begins to lessen. The source of validation shifts inwards, finding peace with oneself, trusting inner guidance, resting in inherent okayness. These become more reliable sources of security than the fickle opinions of others. This liberation from the constant need for praise brings immense freedom, authenticity, and peace to the heart. Being okay from the inside out is true independence, as the reliance on external approval diminishes, replaced by a growing sense of inner validation and self-acceptance. Authentic self-expression begins to flow more naturally and easily when there is less fear of judgment, less need to conform to external expectations, less pressure to maintain a certain image. The genuine qualities of the inner self can emerge without obstruction. This doesn't necessarily mean being loud or dramatic. It simply means allowing one's true thoughts, feelings, values, and unique perspectives to be expressed honestly and appropriately, without excessive filtering or pretense. It feels congruent, integrated, like the inside matches the outside. This authenticity is inherently freeing and fosters deeper, more genuine connections with others who resonate with that truth. Being real feels light and inherently right. Mental clarity extends its illuminating light to the realm of beliefs, the deeply held assumptions, ideas, and conclusions about oneself, others, and the world that shape perception and behavior. Many beliefs are formed early in life or absorbed unconsciously from the surrounding culture. And while some may be helpful, others can become outdated, limiting, or simply untrue upon closer examination. Clarity provides the capacity to look at these beliefs more objectively, as mental constructs rather than absolute facts. It allows for gentle inquiry. Is this belief truly serving well-being? Is it based on current reality or past conditioning? Does it open possibilities or close them down? This clear seeing allows for the natural release of beliefs that no longer resonate with truth or support growth, keeping the inner map updated and aligned with wisdom. It is like clearing out old clutter from the mind. Beneath the ever-changing surface waves of emotion, the peaks of joy, the troughs of sadness, the choppiness of irritation, the currents of fear, lies the deep, unwavering calm of awareness itself. Emotional equanimity is the growing recognition and stabilization in this underlying peace. It is not about suppressing emotions or achieving a state of indifferent flatness. It is about cultivating the capacity to experience all feelings fully while remaining grounded in the inherent stillness of the core self. It's like being the deep ocean, which remains fundamentally peaceful and undisturbed regardless of the weather patterns playing out on its surface. This steady heart, this unwavering inner equilibrium, allows emotions to be felt, honored, and to flow through without overwhelming the entire system. It is the unshakable peace that holds all experience with compassionate, spacious awareness. Resting in this deep calm brings profound stability and resilience. Resting in that state of emotional equanimity, grounded in the steady, peaceful heart of awareness, provides a powerful foundation for resilience in action. When external challenges arise, difficulties at work, relationship stress, unexpected problems, moments of pressure, the response originates from a different place than one dominated by fear or reactivity. Instead of immediate overwhelm or panic, there's a greater capacity to maintain inner balance. The mind tends to stay clearer under pressure, allowing for more effective problem solving and decision making. While stress might still be felt, it is less likely to completely derail the system. The ability to return to a state of inner calm after a disturbance happens more quickly and naturally. This resilience isn't about being tough or unaffected. It's about having a deep, stable inner resource of peace to draw upon, enabling skillful navigation through life's inevitable storms. A significant aspect of emotional freedom is the diminishing tendency to take things personally. Much interpersonal suffering arises from interpreting external events or others' behavior through a highly personalized lens. assuming everything is somehow directed at or reflective of oneself. A critical comment feels like a direct attack on one's worth. A change in plans feels like a personal slight. Someone else's bad mood feels like one's own fault. As clarity grows and the ego's grip softens, there is a greater ability to see situations more objectively. It becomes easier to recognize that other people's behavior often stems from their own inner state, their history, their fears, and usually has little or nothing to do with oneself. Events unfold due to countless factors, most beyond personal control. Depersonalizing experiences in this way brings immense liberation. It reduces defensiveness, reactivity, and the burden of feeling constantly targeted or responsible for things outside one's influence. It allows for seeing the bigger picture with less self-centered distortion, just as emotional freedom brings flexibility in responding to feelings. Mental clarity fosters flexibility in thinking. This is the ability to shift perspectives easily, to entertain new ideas without immediate resistance, to adapt thinking patterns when presented with new information, and to let go of rigid viewpoints or fixed opinions when they no longer serve. A mind stuck in rigid patterns has difficulty learning, adapting, or finding creative solutions. A flexible mind, however, is open, curious, and agile. It can explore different angles of a problem, understand diverse viewpoints, and adjust its mental map as needed. Like water effortlessly conforming to the shape of its container, a flexible mind navigates the complexities of life with greater ease and effectiveness. This adaptability, born of clarity and non-attachment to fixed ideas, is a sign of true mental health and intelligence. Mental flexibility, the capacity to adapt thought patterns and entertain new perspectives without rigid attachment, naturally cultivates a genuine openness to lifelong learning. When the mind is less encumbered by the need to defend existing beliefs or prove itself knowledgeable, it becomes wonderfully receptive. Every experience, every encounter, every challenge, even mistakes, can be viewed as an opportunity to learn, to grow, to deepen understanding. This shifts the feeling of life away from being a constant test with pressures to perform or know all the answers, towards becoming an ongoing, interesting journey of discovery. The ego's need to already be smart or have it all figured out softens, replaced by a humble curiosity and a willingness to continuously learn from the unfolding process of life itself. This open, learning orientation keeps the mind fresh, agile, and perpetually growing in wisdom. Just as inner clarity and freedom foster honesty within oneself, they also create the safety and courage needed for greater emotional honesty in relationships when appropriate. This doesn't mean impulsively blurting out every feeling without consideration, but rather developing the capacity to communicate one's authentic inner experience, needs, feelings, boundaries, clearly, kindly, and vulnerably. Sharing from this place of inner truth, without blame or demand, builds profound trust and intimacy. It allows others to truly see and understand one's inner world, fostering deeper connection than surface-level interactions ever could. This authentic communication, born from the inner freedom to be real and the clarity to express it constructively, transforms relationships making them more genuine, supportive, and resilient. Deep beneath the surface awareness, sometimes obscured by daily worries or passing difficulties, a subtle trust in the fundamental benevolence or okayness of life's unfolding process can begin to take root. This isn't a naive denial of pain or injustice, nor is it based on specific religious doctrines. It is more like a quiet, intuitive sense, growing from inner peace, that despite challenges and uncertainties, things ultimately tend towards balance, learning, and growth. It's a gentle faith in the resilience of life, in the potential for good to emerge even from difficult circumstances. Holding this subtle trust doesn't prevent hardship, but it provides a deep inner comfort, a reservoir of hope, and a resilience that helps navigate difficulties without falling into despair or cynicism. It is the quiet whisper of the heart, believing in the possibility of good, even in the midst of the unknown. Holding a quiet trust in the fundamental benevolence of life's unfolding, even amidst its challenges, nourishes a profound sense of inner security. This is the deep, unwavering feeling of being fundamentally safe within oneself, regardless of external circumstances. It arises from recognizing the stable, unchanging nature of core awareness, the part that is never truly harmed or diminished by experience, while outer situations constantly shift, bringing moments of ease and moments of difficulty. This inner ground remains constant. Knowing this, feeling this deep down okayness, provides an ultimate refuge. It allows for a deep relaxation of the inner guarding mechanisms, a release of chronic fear and anxiety. This inherent safety, discovered within, is the bedrock upon which true peace is built. It is always present, always available, till clarity brings with it an increasing ability to discern between genuine, core needs and the endless proliferation of conditioned wants or cravings. True needs are relatively simple, basic physical sustenance and safety, connection, love, meaning. Wants, on the other hand, are often driven by habit, societal pressures, advertising, or the ego's desire for status, pleasure, or distraction. The mind often confuses the two, leading to endless chasing of things that don't bring lasting fulfillment. Clarity allows this confusion to be seen through. It helps differentiate between what truly nourishes well-being and what is merely a fleeting desire or an attempt to fill an inner sense of lack. Recognizing this difference allows energy to be focused more wisely, letting go of the exhausting pursuit of non-essential wants and finding greater contentment and peace in meeting simple, genuine needs. This discernment simplifies life immensely. Emotional freedom also manifests as a growing liberation from being overly swayed by external feedback, whether positive or negative. While praise and appreciation can certainly feel pleasant, emotional freedom means that one's core sense of inner okayness doesn't become dependent on receiving them. The validation comes primarily from within, from self-acceptance and inner peace. Similarly, while criticism or blame might still trigger a momentary reaction or feeling, it loses its power to devastate or define one's sense of self. The feedback can be considered, perhaps learned from if appropriate, but it doesn't penetrate to the stable inner core. Maintaining this inner equilibrium, less tossed about by the winds of praise and blame, is a sign of deep emotional maturity and freedom. The inner state remains steady, anchored within, being less dependent on the fluctuating winds of external praise or blame, allows for a deeper grounding in inner integrity. When the drive for action comes from internal values rather than external validation, choices become more authentic and consistent. Mental clarity illuminates what truly matters, revealing core principles that resonate deep within. Emotional freedom provides the courage and stability to live in accordance with these principles, even when doing so might be inconvenient, unpopular, or require moving against the current. This alignment between inner knowing and outer action creates a powerful sense of wholeness, of congruence. There is less inner division, less feeling of being pulled in conflicting directions. Living with this kind of integrity, where actions naturally flow from deeply held, clearly seen values, feels solid, peaceful, and profoundly right. It is the quiet strength of a life lived from the inside out, the release from inner burdens, the letting go of old hurts, the quieting of excessive worry, the softening of rigid beliefs, naturally brings a quality of lightness to the inner world. The mind feels less heavy, the heart less constricted. This inner lightness often translates into a gentler, perhaps even more playful, approach to life itself. This doesn't mean becoming irresponsible or dismissing genuine challenges. Rather, it involves holding life's experiences with a lighter touch, less burdened by constant, heavy seriousness. There arises a greater capacity to find moments of ease, gentle humor, or simple joy, even amidst difficulties. This inner buoyancy makes the journey feel less like a grim march and more like a dance, allowing for greater flexibility, creativity, and resilience. A lighter spirit navigates more freely, underpinning all the states of clarity, freedom, peace, and resilience is the fundamental reality of awareness itself. This simple, effortless knowing, this capacity to be present and perceive experience, is the ultimate ground of being. Cultivating trust, not just in inner guidance or life processes, but in awareness itself, is profoundly stabilizing. Awareness is always here, utterly reliable, inherently peaceful, completely untouched by whatever content arises within it. It is the constant, the unchanging background against which all experiences play out. Learning to rest back into this awareness, to trust its unwavering presence more fully than the fleeting thoughts and feelings it perceives, is like finding the ultimate safe harbor. It is recognizing the inherently trustworthy nature of one's own core consciousness, the silent, knowing presence that holds everything. Resting here is absolute peace, resting in the inherent trustworthiness of awareness itself. That quiet, stable background of knowing reveals the profound effortlessness of simply being. While the activities of life, doing, achieving, creating, relating, involve varying degrees of effort, the fundamental state of existence, of being aware, requires no effort whatsoever. Awareness is simply present, naturally, spontaneously. Much inner tension and fatigue arise from a subtle, often unconscious, sense of effort involved in being oneself. The effort of maintaining a certain image, the effort of controlling thoughts and feelings, the effort of striving to become something different. Relaxing this sense of a doer who is struggling to manage existence, and instead resting as the effortless pure, as pure awareness itself, brings immense relief and deep peace. Existence doesn't need to be effortful. Recognizing the ease inherent in simply being is profoundly restful. As mental clarity deepens, it often reveals an underlying simplicity beneath seemingly complex situations or problems. The mind, especially when agitated or caught in conditioned patterns, tends to create intricate narratives, complex analyses, and tangled webs of thought that can make things appear far more complicated than they truly are. Clarity acts like a beam of light cutting through fog. It helps to gently disentangle thoughts, see past surface details, and perceive the core issue or essential truth with straightforward understanding. Solutions that seemed elusive might appear obvious. Confusing dynamics become clear. This simplifying effect of clarity brings not only understanding, but also great relief from the burden of unnecessary mental complexity. Truth is often simple, and a clear mind perceives this simplicity directly. Emotional freedom at its core is fundamentally about non-resistance. Much, if not all, emotional suffering arises not directly from the feelings themselves, but from the inner fight against them. Pushing away sadness prolongs grief. Resisting fear amplifies anxiety. Battling anger fuels inner turmoil. This constant internal warfare against unwanted emotions creates tension, keeps feelings stuck, and prevents their natural resolution. The path to freedom lies not in winning this war, nor in somehow eliminating unwanted feelings altogether, but simply in stopping the fight. It involves cultivating the willingness to allow all feelings their space within awareness, meeting them with acceptance rather than resistance. Breathing with the feeling, letting it be present without adding judgment or struggle, allows its energy to naturally move through and release. This non-resistance is the key that unlocks the door to lasting emotional peace and freedom. Peace comes not from controlling feelings, but from ceasing the inner battle against them. Ceasing the inner battle against feelings, allowing emotions their natural space through non-resistance, does not create peace, but rather reveals the peace that was already present, hidden beneath the struggle. Inner peace is not an achievement earned through effort or discipline. It is the fundamental nature of awareness itself, the quiet ground of being. The disturbance, the lack of peace, comes from the layers of mental noise, emotional reactivity, identification with limiting thoughts, and resistance to experience that obscure this inherent calm. As these layers are gently seen through and allowed to dissolve through clarity, acceptance, and non-identification, the underlying peace naturally reveals itself. It's like clouds clearing to show the ever-present blue sky. Peace is the default state, uncovered rather than constructed. Mental clarity extends its light into the realm of personal values. In the absence of inner noise and confusion, it becomes much easier to discern what truly matters at the deepest level. Core values, perhaps qualities like kindness, truth, connection, creativity, peace, or freedom, begin to shine more clearly, distinguished from the externally imposed shoulds or conditioned desires absorbed from society or upbringing. This clarification of authentic values provides a reliable inner compass. Knowing what is genuinely important offers clear guidance for making life choices, setting priorities, and directing energy in ways that feel meaningful and aligned with the true self. Living in accordance with these core values brings a sense of integrity and purpose that is deeply fulfilling and inherently peaceful. Ultimately, the most profound freedom discovered through this inner journey is not merely freedom from negative states, like anxiety or confusion, or freedom to do specific things in the world. It is the fundamental freedom of being itself. It is the recognition of oneself as the open, spacious awareness in which all experiences, thoughts, feelings, sensations, events arise and pass. This awareness is inherently free. It has no fixed form, no boundaries, no limitations. It is not bound by the past or anxious about the future. It is simply present, open, knowing. Resting as this awareness, identifying more with this spacious presence than with the transient content appearing within it, is the essence of ultimate liberation. It is the freedom that exists prior to all conditions, the simple freedom of being, resting in the fundamental freedom of being, identifying more with the spacious, open awareness than with the limited personality or ego construct, naturally leads to a significant diminishing of fear related to the self. So many common fears, the fear of inadequacy, the fear of failure, the fear of judgment or rejection, even the subtle fear of non-existence, are rooted in attachment to and defense of that constructed sense of me. When awareness rests in its own nature, which is inherently whole, peaceful, and untouched by circumstance, the foundation for these fears begins to crumble. There is less investment in protecting or promoting a fragile self-image. The deep knowing arises that the core essence is already okay, already safe, regardless of performance or external opinion. This shift in identity from the vulnerable ego to the invulnerable awareness brings profound relief from self-related anxiety. Mental clarity acts like a gentle, persistent light shining into the inner world. As this light brightens, it naturally illuminates and dissolves illusions, false beliefs, and misperceptions that may have been operating unconsciously, causing suffering. These might include limiting beliefs about oneself. I'm not capable, distorted views of others. Everyone is critical, or fearful assumptions about life. Something bad is bound to happen. There is often no need for a forceful battle against these illusions. Simply seeing them clearly, recognizing them as mental constructs rather than objective truths in the steady light of awareness, is often enough to loosen their grip. Like shadows that vanish when a light is turned on, false ideas tend to fade away naturally when exposed to the clarity of truthful seeing. Awareness itself has a purifying quality, gently dissolving what is untrue. The essence of achieving emotional freedom lies, most fundamentally, in the practice of allowing. It is the simple, yet profoundly powerful act of permitting all feelings to arise and be present within awareness without interference, without resistance, without judgment. It means opening the inner door and welcoming every emotional visitor, joy, sadness, anger, fear, peace, boredom, acknowledging their presence as part of the natural flow of life energy. This allowing is the opposite of the habitual tendency to push away uncomfortable feelings and cling to pleasant ones. It requires relaxing the inner control mechanisms, stopping the internal war against unwanted states. This simple allowing This non-resistance is the key that unlocks emotional stuckness and allows feelings their natural movement, leading ultimately to greater balance, resilience, and peace. Freedom is found not in control, but in acceptance. This simple allowing, this non-resistance that lies at the heart of emotional freedom, permits not only the release of stuck energy, but also the revelation of the intelligence inherent within emotions themselves. Feelings, when met with open awareness rather than immediate reactivity or suppression, often carry valuable information. They act as internal signals, guiding attention towards what needs care, change, or acknowledgement. Fear, when listened to calmly, might point towards a genuine need for safety or caution. Sadness might signal a loss that needs grieving or a longing for connection. Anger, beneath its fiery surface, might indicate a boundary that has been crossed or a need for self-respect. Joy might point towards activities and connections that nourish the soul. Learning to listen to the subtle messages embedded within feelings without being swept away by their intensity unlocks a deep source of inner wisdom. Emotions, understood in this way, become allies in self-understanding and navigating life. Just as the body requires periods of rest to function optimally, the mind also benefits immensely from opportunities for deep quietude. Constant thinking, planning, analyzing, worrying, and mental chatter can be incredibly taxing, leading to fatigue, confusion, and burnout. Mental clarity and emotional freedom naturally create more space for the mind to settle and rest. This mental rest isn't necessarily about achieving a completely blank state, but rather about experiencing periods where the relentless stream of thought subsides, where awareness can simply be, without being constantly caught up in cognitive activity. It's a letting go of mental effort, a relaxation of the thinking muscle. This quiet allows the mind to refresh, integrate information on a deeper level, and often results in greater clarity and creativity when thinking does resume. Cherishing and allowing these moments of mental stillness is vital for inner balance. Growing clarity often illuminates the multitude of internal shoulds and shouldn'ts that operate unconsciously within the mind, often generating feelings of guilt, pressure, and obligation. These internalized rules, I should always be productive, I shouldn't feel angry, I must please everyone, are frequently absorbed from family, culture, or past experiences, and may not align with one's authentic values or current reality. Mental clarity allows these rules to be seen objectively, questioned gently. Emotional freedom provides the space to feel the discomfort associated with potentially breaking these rules without being paralyzed by guilt or fear. This process enables a discerning release from the tyranny of arbitrary or outdated shoulds, liberating energy and allowing choices to be guided more by genuine inner values and intuition rather than conditioned obligations. Freedom from inner dictates brings profound lightness and authenticity, releasing the heavy burden of internalized shoulds, and learning instead to trust the authentic guidance arising from within creates the space for inherent wisdom to surface more readily. This deep knowing, this natural intelligence, is not something acquired from external sources, nor is it created through effort. It has always been present, an innate quality of being, often obscured by mental clutter, emotional reactivity, or layers of conditioned belief. like clearing away debris that has covered a freshwater spring. The practices of cultivating clarity and allowing emotional freedom reveal this natural wisdom, allowing it to flow more consistently into conscious awareness. Insights arise, understanding deepens, and life navigation feels guided by a reliable inner source. Trusting this inherent wisdom becomes increasingly natural as its quiet, steady voice is recognized and honored. One significant outcome of greater mental clarity is the simplification of decision-making. When the mind is filled with conflicting thoughts, fears, second-guessing, and unclear values, making choices can feel agonizing and fraught with anxiety. There is often a paralysis born of confusion or the fear of making the wrong move. As clarity dawns, however, the process often becomes much easier. When core values are clearly felt, when intuition is listened to, when the mind is quiet enough to perceive situations without excessive distortion, the path forward frequently becomes obvious, or at least clearer. There is less internal debate, less agonizing over possibilities, more quiet confidence in following the guidance that arises from inner alignment. Decisions flow more naturally from a place of peace and clear seeing. Emotional freedom, particularly the cultivation of acceptance and non-resistance, leads ultimately towards freedom from unnecessary suffering. It is important to distinguish between pain and suffering. Pain, whether physical or emotional, such as grief, sadness, or the sting of disappointment, is an unavoidable part of the human experience, a natural response to loss, change, or difficulty. Suffering, however, is often the additional layer created by the mind's reaction to the pain. It is the resistance, "This shouldn't be happening," the identification, "This pain is me," the endless mental stories spun around the pain, "Why me?" "It will never end," the self-pity, the worry, the blame. This mental amplification is what often turns manageable pain into prolonged suffering. Emotional freedom, through clarity and acceptance, dissolves this extra layer. Pain may still be felt when conditions trigger it, but the mental resistance and identification lessen dramatically. Awareness learns to hold the pain gently, allowing it its space, without adding the fuel of reactive thought. Peace can coexist even with difficult sensations or feelings when the suffering about them is released. This is profound liberation. This profound liberation from unnecessary suffering. The ability to experience life's inevitable pain without the added layer of mental resistance and identification reveals a fundamental truth: the inherent okayness of being itself. Deep beneath the surface fluctuations of pleasant and unpleasant experiences, at the very core of awareness, there resides an unwavering sense of peace, wholeness, and fundamental well-being. This okayness is not conditional upon circumstances being favorable or feelings being positive. It is the unchanging nature of the aware space itself, the silent presence that holds all experience. Like the movie screen remains unmarked and unaffected by the drama projected onto it, the core awareness remains pristine and peaceful regardless of the thoughts and feelings passing through. Recognizing this inherent okayness, feeling it as the background reality, is the ultimate source of security and peace. It is the discovery that, at the deepest level, all is well. Mental clarity acts as a powerful dissolver of fear. Many fears are rooted in misperception, mistaking transient thoughts for solid realities, identifying with limiting beliefs, projecting past negative experiences onto the future. Fear often attaches itself to fearful thoughts, disaster scenarios spun by the mind, creating a cycle of anxiety. Clear seeing allows these thoughts to be recognized simply as thoughts, mental energy patterns, not necessarily accurate predictions or reflections of truth. When seen clearly in the light of awareness, their power to generate fear diminishes significantly. Clarity also reveals the transient nature of feelings. Even intense fear, when allowed without resistance, eventually passes. Furthermore, recognizing the stable, peaceful nature of awareness itself undermines the fundamental fear of annihilation or harm to the core self. As clarity deepens, the illusions that fuel fear dissolve, leaving behind a natural state of greater calm, courage, and trust. The process of integrating these deeper understandings, of allowing positive shifts in perception and emotional response to become established, often happens effortlessly, particularly during periods of rest and relaxation. The subconscious mind, the deep intelligence operating beneath conscious awareness, naturally absorbs and assimilates these truths when the conscious mind is quiet. There is no need for forceful striving or constant mental effort to make these changes happen. Providing the gentle input, creating the inner conditions of openness and acceptance, and then simply resting, allows the natural process of integration to unfold in its own time. Like a seed absorbing water and nutrients from the soil while resting underground, the deep mind integrates wisdom and facilitates healing effortlessly when allowed the space and quietude to do so. Trusting this effortless, subconscious integration is key to allowing deep and lasting transformation. Change happens gently from within. Trusting the effortless integration that occurs within the deep mind, particularly during rest, highlights the fundamental simplicity of this inner path. While the results, profound clarity, deep emotional freedom, lasting peace, can feel extraordinary, the underlying principles are remarkably straightforward. It is not primarily about complex techniques, arduous disciplines, or acquiring vast amounts of knowledge. At its heart, the journey unfolds through simple, gentle inner movements, cultivating awareness, noticing thoughts without automatically believing them, allowing feelings their space without resistance, resting attention in the present moment, practicing self-kindness. These simple acts, returned to gently and consistently, gradually dissolve the inner obstructions to clarity and peace. The way itself is natural, accessible, built upon simple truths of awareness and acceptance. As mental clarity deepens, dissolving illusions and softening the grip of the ego, the sense of rigid separation between oneself and the rest of existence often begins to fade. The feeling of being an isolated individual, completely distinct from the world and others, is revealed as largely a mental construct, a perspective born from identifying solely with the limited body and personality. Clear seeing unveils the profound interconnectedness of all things. Just as waves are inseparable from the ocean, individual beings are inseparable from the larger web of life. Thoughts resonate emotions connect, actions create ripples that extend outwards. Recognizing this interdependence, feeling it not just as an idea, but as a lived reality, diminishes feelings of loneliness and alienation. It fosters a sense of belonging to the whole, accompanied by natural feelings of empathy and compassionate responsibility. Emotional freedom culminates not in the elimination of difficult feelings, but in the capacity to embrace the full spectrum of human emotion as part of wholeness. The attempt to selectively experience only positive emotions while suppressing or denying negative ones is a recipe for inner conflict and fragmentation. True freedom lies in welcoming all feelings, joy and sorrow, peace and anger, fear and love, allowing each their rightful place within the vast space of awareness. A whole heart is not one that feels only happiness, but one that is open enough, resilient enough, and compassionate enough to hold all experiences without shutting down or breaking. Freedom is found in this capacity for inclusive embrace, knowing that the underlying awareness remains untouched, able to contain the entirety of the human emotional landscape with peace and acceptance. It is the freedom to be fully human, fully alive, embracing the full spectrum of human experience, allowing all feelings their space within awareness, points towards a peace that lies beyond the mind's habitual tendency to divide reality into rigid opposites. The thinking mind constantly categorizes good versus bad, right versus wrong, success versus failure, pleasant versus unpleasant. This dualistic thinking often creates inner conflict and judgment. However, the awareness that holds all experience is not itself divided. It impartially allows both sides of every coin, joy and sorrow, light and shadow, to arise and pass within its open space. Resting increasingly in this unified awareness, which embraces all opposites without preference or resistance, reveals a profound peace that transcends mental dichotomies. It is the peace of oneness, the quiet okayness that underlies all apparent contradictions. Mental clarity can be likened to a gentle, steady light illuminating the inner world. As this light grows stronger, it naturally dispels the shadows of confusion, misunderstanding, and illusion. It shines into previously dark corners, revealing hidden assumptions, outdated beliefs, or fear-based perspectives that were subtly influencing perception and behavior. This inner light doesn't need to fight against the darkness. Its mere presence causes the shadows to recede. It illuminates the path forward, clarifying choices and revealing the simple truth often obscured by mental fog. Clarity, like light, brings warmth, understanding, and a sense of safety, allowing navigation through life with greater confidence and ease. The deepening experience of inner freedom and peace often unveils a quiet, uncaused joy. This is different from the temporary happiness or excitement that depends on external events, achievements, or pleasant sensations. Intrinsic joy arises spontaneously from within as a natural expression of the liberated heart and the simple recognition of being. It is the joy of existence itself, the quiet gladness felt in being alive, aware, and connected. It doesn't require a specific reason or trigger. It simply bubbles up from the wellspring of inner contentment and freedom. This uncaused joy is subtle, steady, and deeply nourishing, a sign of awareness resting happily in its own nature, free from the burdens of seeking and resistance. It is the heart's natural lightness, finally unburdened, the experience of uncaused joy, the simple happiness arising from the freedom of being itself, underscores the truth that mental clarity and emotional freedom are not states artificially created or achieved through immense struggle. Rather, they represent the natural condition of the mind and heart when the layers of obscuration, conditioned beliefs, reactive patterns, resistance, identification with thought are gently allowed to fall away. It is a return to the inherent nature, a rediscovery of the peace and clarity that were always present beneath the surface noise. This journey is less about becoming someone different and more about unbecoming the patterns that hide the true self. It is a process of subtraction, not addition. Gently releasing the burdens of the past, the anxieties about the future, the rigid self-concepts, allows the luminous, clear, and peaceful nature of core awareness to shine forth effortlessly. It is simply coming home to the way things naturally are within. As these qualities of clarity and freedom become more deeply integrated, they cease to be concepts or occasional experiences and become embodied ways of being. Living with a clear mind and an open heart feels less like something practiced and more like the natural way life flows. Decisions arise more easily from inner wisdom. Emotional responses are more balanced and appropriate. Perception is less distorted, and actions align naturally with core values. This embodied state is not static perfection, but a dynamic, flowing presence, navigating life with greater ease, resilience, and grace. It is knowing clarity and freedom not just as ideas, but as the lived texture of moment-to-moment experience, integrated into the very fabric of being. This happens gently, naturally, as the deep mind continues to absorb and integrate these truths. While this natural state becomes more predominant, life continues to present distractions and potential triggers for old patterns. Gentle reminders, like allowing these words to wash through awareness during rest, can serve as soft anchors, helping to maintain the connection to inner peace and clarity amidst the busyness of the world. It is not about striving, but about gently reinforcing the pathways back to the quiet center, allowing the effortless state to become ever more stable and readily accessible. The path continues, unfolding gently, and so the core possibility remains simple and ever-present. The mind possesses an inherent capacity for profound clarity. Beneath the surface chatter, there exists a vast, quiet space of knowing, a clear light capable of illuminating understanding and guiding wise action. This clarity is not something to be forced, but something to be allowed, uncovered as mental knots and obscuring beliefs gently dissolve. A clear mind is a peaceful mind. Simultaneously, the heart holds the potential for deep emotional freedom. This is not the absence of feelings, but the capacity to meet all emotions, pleasant and unpleasant, with acceptance, non-resistance, and spacious awareness. It is the freedom from being controlled or overwhelmed by feelings, allowing them instead to flow naturally, offering their wisdom, and then passing, leaving the underlying peace undisturbed. A free heart is an open, resilient, and compassionate heart. Trusting this process of gentle unfolding is essential. trusting the deep intelligence of the subconscious mind to absorb, integrate, and make these possibilities a lived reality, often working quietly during periods of rest and stillness. Trusting that positive change happens organically, softly, from the inside out, without needing force or struggle. Allowing these truths about clarity and freedom to soak deeply into the core of being facilitates this natural transformation. May the quiet clarity continue to illuminate the inner world. May the spacious freedom allow all feelings their gentle passage. May the deep, abiding peace that underlies all experience become ever more apparent, a constant refuge and source of strength. Clarity remains. Freedom endures. Peace resides deep within, effortlessly, naturally, always. Rest now in this peaceful knowing